So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare the butter for the filling for the chicken Kiev. So I've got in the bowl 60 grams of butter and 2 tablespoons of parsley. So it's finely chopped parsley. So I'm just going to mix it to start to soften it. And then I'm going to add to that 2 cloves of garlic. I know that the recipe says just 1 clove, but I actually quite like garlic, so I'm going to add 2. And you can crush it using a crusher, or I tend to now just use a microplane grater because I find that's easier to wash than washing a garlic crusher. So I grate the garlic into it and just wipe it off the inside of the grater as well, and then mix it in. And I also want to season this, so I'm going to use some salt and some freshly ground black pepper. So this needs to be mixed really well so that the garlic and the seasoning is even. Which I think the butter could have done with being slightly softer, then it would have mixed together more easily. So now I've got a piece of baking parchment. I'm going to put the butter onto it. And I want to press it into like a log shape. Because then I'm going to cut that in half, so one piece will go into each Kiev when it's firm. So I'm going to wrap that up. And then I'm going to chill that in the fridge until it's nice and hard. So to get the chicken ready, I need to beat it out to get it thin. So I've got 2 skinless chicken breasts. That's one I'm now about to start doing. That's one that I've already beaten out. So you can see the difference in size. It goes to about double the size. So I'm going to put that into the centre of a piece of cling film and put another piece on top. And then I'm going to beat it with the side of a rolling pin to flatten it out. So this is a form of mechanical tenderisation of the chicken breast. It's breaking down some of the fibres, and it's also spreading it out so it's thinner so that it will cook more evenly. Don't forget that anything that you touch your surfaces when you touch your chicken, make sure you wash your hands and any surfaces really well afterwards. You don't want any cross-contamination from the chicken. So don't beat it too fiercely. It's better to do it for longer and slightly more gentle so you don't get any holes in the chicken. So I just keep stopping to pull the cling film out again. think that those are done enough now. So I'm going to, a bit of chicken come off it, so I just put that on top of it. So there are the 2 chicken breasts ready to put the garlic butter on. So I'm going to throw these bits away and wash these really well. So while I've got clean hands, I'm going to season the chicken with some salt and pepper. Just a little bit of salt and some pepper. Then the garlic butter has gone nice and firm, so I'm going to open that and cut it in half. And put 1 piece onto each chicken breast. Then I'm going to wrap the chicken around it. So because I left it on a piece of the wrap, it's quite easy to lift that to wrap it around. And then tuck the ends in over as well. So hopefully that should be large enough to stay, and I think it will, but if you want to be extra sure, you can always put a wooden cocktail stick into it, but then you have to remember to take it out before you serve it. So I sort of threaded that through a little bit like a needle. So I'm going to put one on this end as well. So I'm going to do the same with the other one. Folding the ends in first of all and then wrapping the chicken around. I think that one could benefit as well from using a cocktail stick. So now to coat them in the breadcrumbs, you need something to stick the breadcrumbs onto it. And also to seal it, if we use egg, it works as a glue for the breadcrumbs, and also as they're being fried, the egg cooks and it provides like a protective coating around the chicken. So that's well coated in the egg. So now I place it on the breadcrumbs and turn it. Try and make sure it's fully covered. So these are actually dry breadcrumbs. You can use fresh white breadcrumbs as well if you want to. Okay, so that's well coated. Now this needs chilling to firm it up before I cook it. So I'm going to put it on a small tray that I've lined with some baking parchment. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the other one, coating it first in the egg. Make sure all the surfaces of it are covered with egg. And then the egg drain off and coat it in the breadcrumbs. If you like a really thick crust on it, you can chill these, and then once they're firm, you can brush more egg on it and coat them again, so they actually have a double coating of breadcrumbs. And any breadcrumbs that you haven't used, then I would suggest that you should throw them away, because those on the plate will now be contaminated with the chicken, so don't try and save them. So I'm going to put those into the fridge once I've washed my hands and leave them for at least 2 hours. So now the Kievs are chilled, they're quite firm. I'm going to fry them, deep fry them in a pan of vegetable oil. Now, so I don't have to turn my back to you and cook them on my normal hob, I'm cooking them on this induction hob. But the induction hob also has an advantage that is thermostatically controlled. I don't know if you just heard then a double bleep. That was telling me that the temperature of the oil was the temperature I'd set it at. If you haven't got an electric deep fat fryer, you need to be really, really careful and watch it all of the time to make sure it doesn't get too hot. You don't want the pan catching alight. So this actual induction hob has a setting for deep frying, so it will keep the oil at whatever temperature I've set it at. It's got various sort of temperature ranges that I can use. So I've got it set at 180 degrees. So I'm going to carefully lower one of the Kievs. I'm going to put it on the spoon and lower it into the hot oil. And there should be room for the second one to go beside it. So my pan, when I started, was about a third full of oil, because as you might be able to see on the video, it's bubbled up, so I didn't want it to bubble up over. And it takes about 8 to 10 minutes to cook, so I'm going to check them after 8 minutes. So Alexa, set a timer for 8 minutes. So the timer has gone off. So I'm going to take these out of the oil, letting as much of the fat drip off it as I can, and then put them onto absorbent kitchen paper. Now I'm going to check the temperature with a thermometer. So it needs to be above 75. So I don't want to pierce all the way into the butter, I'm just doing the meat. And that is, oh dear, that's not hot enough, that's showing at 65. Let me check that one as well. That one is quite low as well, so I'm just going to put them back into the oil for another couple of minutes. So again, I'm lowering them as I put them in to begin with on a spoon, so that they don't splash. If you don't have a thermometer, just make a small cut in the top of it and see if you can see if the meat is looking pink. If it's got any pinky tinge to it, then put it back in and cook it for longer. So this has now had a couple minutes longer cooking. So I'm going to take them out again, letting as much oil drain off as I can before I put it onto the absorbent kitchen roll. One thing you'll have to do before serving it, when it's settled after just a couple of minutes, pull those wooden cocktail sticks out. So they look lovely and golden and crisp. So they should be served as soon as possible after cooking. And don't forget to turn the pan of oil off. I can't stress enough how dangerous it is to deep fry things. So preferably do it when there's an adult around. And if you can, use a thermostatically controlled fryer, otherwise watch it very carefully. If you don't have a thermometer for testing the temperature of the oil, I've got this one which I can sort of point and take the temperature of it. Then you can cut a cube of bread and drop it in, and it should rise to the surface and turn a golden colour in 2 or 3 minutes. And that's a guide that the oil is at about the right temperature. Anyway, enough of me talking. I need to get these served as they need to be served immediately.